The story is set at Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, which is presented as the most important and strategically valuable United States military installation in the entire Middle East. Located southwest of Doha, the base is not only massive in size, but also central to nearly all U.S. military planning, coordination, and operations across the region. With approximately 11,000 American personnel stationed there, Al Udeid functions as both a frontline operational base and a high-level command center. It hosts the forward headquarters of U.S. Central Command, meaning that many of the key decisions related to air, land, and naval operations throughout the Middle East are directed from this single location. In the story, the base represents the physical and symbolic heart of American military power in the region. Al Udeid is described as a highly advanced and heavily equipped military complex. Its airfields and hangars house a wide variety of aircraft designed for different roles in modern warfare. These include F-15 Strike Eagles, which are used for precision ground attacks and air superiority missions, and F-35 stealth fighters, which are among the most technologically advanced combat aircraft in the world, capable of evading radar and delivering highly accurate strikes. The base is also home to B-52 Stratofortress bombers, long-range aircraft that can carry large payloads of conventional or precision-guided weapons and operate over vast distances. In addition, the presence of unmanned drones allows for constant surveillance and reconnaissance, while refueling tankers enable aircraft to remain in the air for extended periods, greatly increasing their operational reach. Beyond the aircraft themselves, the base is portrayed as a complex network of command centers, communication hubs, radar systems, logistic facilities, and hardened shelters. Thousands of support staff work alongside pilots and commanders to maintain aircraft, manage supplies, operate intelligence systems, and ensure that every mission can be launched and sustained without delay. The base functions around the clock, with constant movement of personnel, aircraft, and information. This makes Al Udeid not just a military airfield, but a full-scale operational nerve center that connects U.S. forces across multiple countries and conflict zones. In the context of the story, this immense concentration of power and coordination is what makes Al Udeid such a critical target. The narrative emphasizes that striking this base would not simply damage a few aircraft or buildings. Instead, it would disrupt the entire system of U.S. military operations in the Middle East. Communications between regional commands could be severed, air missions across multiple countries could be delayed or canceled, and logistical support for Allied forces could be weakened. From this perspective, Al Udeid is portrayed as a single point whose destruction could create widespread consequences far beyond Qatar itself. The base's importance is also symbolic. It represents the long-term presence and influence of the United States in the region. In the story, weakening or disabling Al Udeid is described as a way to challenge American dominance and send a powerful political and military message. The idea is that if such a heavily defended and well-known U.S. stronghold could be successfully attacked, it would demonstrate that American forces are vulnerable, potentially changing how both allies and adversaries view the balance of power in the Middle East. This strategic value is further reinforced by the base's role in supporting coalition partners and regional allies. Aircraft and personnel stationed at Al Udeid often participate in joint operations, training exercises, and intelligence-sharing efforts with other nations. This means that the base is not only a U.S. asset, but also a central hub for broader international military cooperation. Any disruption to its operations could therefore affect multiple countries and ongoing missions, amplifying the regional and global impact of an attack. The story presents Al Udeid as a place where routine and tension exist side by side. On the surface, daily life continues with training flights, maintenance work, briefings, and personnel go about their normal duties. At the same time, there is an underlying sense that the base is always a potential target because of what it represents. This contrast highlights the vulnerability that comes with being such a powerful and visible symbol of military strength. Ultimately, in this narrative, Al Udeid Air Base is more than just a setting. It serves as a central pillar of U.S. military influence in the Middle East and a focal point around which the entire conflict unfolds. Its size, capabilities, and strategic role make it a logical target for any force seeking to weaken American power in the region and reshape the political and military balance. This importance is what drives the events of the story forward and sets the stage for the dramatic confrontation that follows. In the story, rising regional tensions form the backdrop for Iran's decision to carry out a large-scale and carefully coordinated surprise attack. The narrative describes a period marked by increasing U.S. military activity in the Middle East, stricter economic sanctions, and heightened political pressure. Iranian leaders view these developments as direct challenges to their influence and security. As a result, the situation is portrayed as reaching a critical point where symbolic gestures and diplomatic protests are no longer seen as sufficient. Instead, the leadership believe that only a dramatic and forceful military action can alter the strategic balance and compel the United States to reconsider its presence and policies in the region. According to the story, Iran's top political and military officials hold an emergency meeting to assess their options and determine a response that will send a powerful message. The focus quickly turns to Al-Udeid Air Base, which they identify as the most valuable and vulnerable symbol of American power in the Middle East. They reason that striking such a central hub would not only cause physical damage, but also have a strong psychological impact on both the U.S. military and its regional allies. The base is seen as the backbone of American air operations, command coordination, and logistical support, making it an ideal target for a high-profile and high-stakes operation. The narrative emphasizes the careful planning that goes into the attack. Rather than relying on a single type of weapon or a single launch location, Iranian commanders design a multi-layered strike meant to overwhelm even the most advanced defense systems. They choose to use a mix of ballistic and cruise missiles, each with different flight paths, speeds, and altitudes. This variety is intended to confuse radar systems, stretch defensive resources, and increase the chances that at least some missiles will break through and reach their targets. To further complicate the defense, the missiles are prepared and launched from 6 separate locations across Iran. These sites include military bases, missile complexes, and specialized launch facilities spread over a wide geographic area. By dispersing the launches, the attackers aim to make it more difficult for U.S. forces to quickly identify and respond to all of the launch points. This also creates the impression of a nationwide operation rather than a localized strike, reinforcing the sense of scale and determination behind the attack. The number of missiles, 38 in total, is portrayed as a calculated choice. In the story, this figure represents a balance between available resources and the desire to create a saturation attack. The idea is to send so many missiles at once that the base's air defense systems will be forced to engage multiple targets simultaneously, potentially running out of interceptors or missing some incoming threats. The attackers believe that even a small number of successful impacts could cause significant damage if they hit aircraft on the ground, fuel storage facilities, command buildings, or densely populated areas of the base. The goals of the attack are described as both military and political. Militarily, the planners hope to destroy or disable key aircraft, damage runways and hangars, and disrupt communication and command centers. By doing so, they aim to temporarily paralyze U.S. air operations across the region. Politically, the leadership hopes that heavy American casualties and visible destruction will create pressure within the United States to reconsider its military involvement in the Middle East. The attack is framed as a way to force negotiations or even prompt a partial or full withdrawal of U.S. forces. The story also highlights the confidence and expectations of the Iranian commanders. They believe that the element of surprise will be their greatest advantage. By launching the missiles at a time when the base appears to be engaged in routine daily activities, training flights, maintenance work, and personnel go about normal duties, they hope to catch the defenders off guard. The assumption is that such a sudden and massive strike will create confusion, delay defensive responses, and maximize the impact of the incoming missiles. Emotionally, the narrative portrays the decision as a defining moment for Iran's leadership. It is presented as a bold gamble that could either elevate the country's standing as a powerful regional force or provoke a major confrontation with the United States. The planners are shown as believing that the potential rewards outweigh the risks, especially if the attack succeeds in demonstrating that even the most heavily defended American base can be threatened. Overall, this part of the story focuses on the intent, preparation, and ambition behind the missile strike. It frames the attack not as an isolated military action, but as a deliberate attempt to reshape the political and military landscape of the Middle East. By targeting Al Udeid Air Base with a large and diverse wave of missiles launched from across the country, the attackers aim to deliver a message of strength, challenge U.S. dominance, and force a shift in regional power dynamics. In the story, the turning point comes almost immediately after missiles are launched, when the United States' early warning and defense systems demonstrate their speed and technological sophistication. Within seconds of the launches, U.S. Space Force infrared satellites detect unusual heat signatures rising from multiple locations across Iran. These satellites, designed to identify the thermal trails of missile engines, automatically classify the event as a coordinated ballistic and cruise missile attack. This information is transmitted through secure communication networks to command centers across the Middle East, including Al Udeid Air Base, where the incoming threat is confirmed and analyzed in real time. As soon as the warning reaches the base, emergency protocols are activated. Sirens sound across the installation, and automated announcements instruct all personnel to move to hardened shelters and underground bunkers. Pilots and ground crews rush to secure aircraft, pushing them into reinforced hangars or dispersing them to minimize potential damage. Command staff move to protect the control rooms to maintain communication and coordinate the defense. The base, which moments earlier had been engaged in routine operations, is suddenly transformed into a scene of organized urgency, where every individual has a specific role to play in responding to the unfolding crisis. The story emphasizes the layered nature of the base's air defense system, which is designed to engage threats at different stages of their flight. The first line of defense consists of Patriot missile batteries, which are capable of tracking and intercepting ballistic missiles at long range. These systems use powerful radar arrays to lock onto incoming targets and guide interceptor missiles toward them at extremely high speeds. As the Iranian missiles approach, the Patriots begin launching their interceptors, sending streaks of light into the sky in an effort to destroy the threats before they can descend toward the base. At higher altitudes, THAAD, Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, systems come into play. These are designed to intercept missiles during the final phase of their descent, using kinetic energy rather than explosive warheads to destroy targets through direct impact. In the narrative, THAAD batteries work in coordination with the Patriot systems, creating a defensive umbrella that covers a base from the upper atmosphere down to lower altitudes. This combination is meant to reduce the chance that any single missile can slip through the gaps between defensive layers. As the attack continues, the story introduces close-in weapon systems, often described as a last line of defense. These systems use rapid-fire cannons to create a wall of projectiles in the path of incoming missiles or debris. While they have a much shorter range than missile interceptors, they are designed to protect critical areas of the base in the final moments before impact. Their role in the story highlights the idea that even if long-range defenses fail, there are still multiple safeguards in place to reduce damage and casualties. Fighter jets also play a role in the defense. Aircraft already on patrol are directed toward incoming cruise missiles, which fly at lower altitudes and can be more difficult for ground-based radar to detect. Using air-to-air missiles, the fighters attempt to intercept these threats before they reach the base. This adds another layer to the defensive network, combining ground-based systems with airborne response units. The narrative describes the sky above Al Udeid as filled with streaks of light, explosions in the distance, and the constant movement of defensive interceptors. One by one, most of the incoming missiles are destroyed high above the base, breaking apart into debris that falls harmlessly away from critical areas. The coordinated effort between satellites, radar systems, missile batteries, and aircraft is portrayed as a carefully synchronized process, where information flows continuously and decisions are made in seconds. Despite the effectiveness of the defenses, the story acknowledges that no system is completely perfect. A small number of missiles manage to evade interception and reach the base. These impacts cause limited physical damage, such as harming a fuel storage area and damaging a few pieces of equipment or aircraft. The explosions also result in a small number of personnel being injured by debris or shock waves. However, the narrative emphasizes that there are no fatalities, and the overall operational capability of the base remains largely intact. Emotionally, this moment is portrayed as a mix of relief and tension. The successful interception of most of the missiles is seen as a major defensive achievement, but the fact that any missiles made it through serves as a reminder of the ongoing danger. Medical teams treat the wounded, engineers begin assessing structural damage, and commanders continue to monitor the situation, knowing that the attack may not be over or that further actions could follow. Overall, this part of the story highlights the importance of preparation, technology, and coordination in modern warfare. It presents the defense of Al Udeid Air Base as a demonstration of how layered systems, rapid communication, and trained personnel can work together to counter even a large and complex missile attack. The limited damage and absence of fatalities are framed as evidence of the effectiveness of these defensive measures, setting the stage for the next phase of the narrative, where attention shifts from defense to response. While the defensive battle over Al Udeid Air Base is still unfolding, the story shifts its focus to the rapid and far-reaching response authorized by the United States. The narrative emphasizes that the decision to retaliate is made almost immediately, framed as a direct consequence of a major American military installation coming under attack. Senior commanders interpret the missile strike not as a limited or symbolic action, but as a serious escalation that demands a decisive and comprehensive reply. The goal of this response is not only to punish the attackers, but to ensure that their ability to conduct similar operations in the future is severely reduced or eliminated altogether. The first elements of the retaliatory operation come from the sea. A nearby U.S. aircraft carrier, positioned in international waters, is described as a mobile air base capable of launching waves of combat aircraft within minutes. Fighter jets and strike aircraft lift off from its deck, each carrying a carefully selected mix of precision-guided weapons. These planes are tasked with targeting radar installations, missile launch sites, and air defense systems along the Iranian coastline and further inland. Their mission is to clear a path for the larger strike force by weakening the enemy's ability to detect and respond to incoming attacks. At the same time, stealth fighters take off from regional bases. These aircraft are portrayed as highly advanced platforms designed to penetrate heavily defended airspace without being easily detected by radar. Flying at high speed and low visibility, they carry smart bombs and guided munitions aimed at key command centers and communication hubs. By striking these targets early in the operation, the attackers seek to disrupt coordination among Iranian military units, making it more difficult for them to organize an effective defense or response.